Good morning and welcome to Missoula Real Estate Today. This is Peter Christian. I'm here with the host of the show, Diane Beck, with Windermere Real Estate. Diane has been helping buyers and sellers with real estate in the Missoula area for over 20 years and is very active in the Missoula community. Along with their trusted partners, Diane provides complete service for your real estate transaction. And now, Missoula Real Estate Today on newstalkkgvo.com, 98.3 FM and 1290 AM. Hey, welcome everybody. It's Missoula Real Estate Today. I am Peter Christian, and joining me in the studio is a dear, dear friend. I'm not going to say it's an old friend.
Well, thank you.
But someone I've known for a long, long time. My friend Beckie Peterson is back in real estate, and back now you're with Windermere Real Estate. So tell me, now I haven't seen you for a while. So tell me, you've been out and about doing all sorts of different things, right?
I have. So I was in real estate at Windermere when it first came to Missoula in 2004.
Right.
And I did real estate, both residential, new construction, tiny bit of commercial. I would never claim that to be my fame. And then I took a little bit of time off after I'd had my third child and kind of played with her for a little bit. And as we all know, the whole world changed in about 2010.
Yes, it certainly did.
So I went back into work, and I went back to what my beginning of my career was, which was back into media and radio. And I did that for about 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then just recently decided that Diane and I have talked about this for about 20 years. We've been friends. She actually sold me. She was an assistant to another realtor, sold me my very first house in 1990 with my husband. And so we've known each other since then, but we really got to know each other well when we worked on the Parade of Homes and many other things in our careers. And so this has just been really exciting. I'm very, very excited to be back at Windermere and joining Diane Beck as well. It's just going to be a fun, new re-adventure, I guess.
Yeah,
reintroduction of something.
I guess the question I would want to ask you is that how have things changed in the world of real estate today as when they were when you first started back in, whatever.
04. There's more pages to the buy, sells, and listings.
Yeah, I'm sure there are, yeah.
It's really interesting because as I look back to 04, 06, the market was actually relatively similar to where it is today, where that is about the time, 07 is when prices really, really peaked.
Right.
And they're just now, actually, they're back and going well above that. And that's been the most shocking thing is I see homes that I maybe sold or helped somebody buy and find and I guess marry their new house.
Mm-hmm.
And I go back and look at some of those and what they are now, and the change in price has been shocking to me. And the main place of that is anywhere under like 400,000. That's
right.
The real big surprise to me. But that's that's Missoula right now. We are very much so home starved, if you want to say it. We
Sure, yeah.
really have kind of a housing crisis of needing more homes. A lot of homes weren't built after starting in 7, 8, 9 or 9, 10, all the way up until now. Now the housing starts are getting going, and that's going to be very helpful.
It's going to be very helpful, but the problem is, and I know this is a nail that I tap a lot, but I travel in the Flathead Valley and the Gallatin Valley and, some of the other areas of the state where there's lots and lots of room. I mean, we were just in Whitefish the other day, and the Flathead Valley is enormous, and there's all sorts of building and all sorts of developments going up and signs here and signs there and pictures of beautiful women and handsome men saying, buy this home from me and all that. And it just keeps going and going and going. Can't do that in Missoula, right? Because we have we're in this little tiny valley and there's just this much real estate. And so that kind of necessitates this whole buying and selling frenzy, right?
It does. We're in the glacial lake. We're in the lake bed of the 5 valleys. And we have our mountains surrounding our beautiful Missoula Valley. Now, the places that we're going to have growth are outside the valley, and there's pros and cons of that. Some of us love, why we're here and the what people call urban sprawl, but we have to find, there's just not enough. There's not a lot of land here, so it's going to have to go out or it's going to have to go up.
Sure. Now, is that something that when you as a real estate agent, as you look at the challenge of working in Missoula, and you've got a big line of people that want to buy stuff. And every time I talk to Diane, we need inventory. So are you still in that vein?
We are. There's very low inventory right now. I was just last week, Brent Wahlberg was talking with us, and I want to say in that price range of under about, it gets different from, say, 4 to 3 and then 3 to 2, but it's not that much. Really pretty much underneath there, we have about a month and a half of inventory.
Wow.
And that's unbelievable. Normally, you want your inventory, it averages 6 to 9 months of inventory before you would sell out if you didn't get another listing.
Sure, yeah.
But right now in those price ranges, there's just not a lot listed under that. We don't have enough inventory. And so therefore, even if you look at some of our market trends of closings from last year, this year, May to May, we have a few less. And I don't think that's because the market isn't going crazy, because it is. It's because we don't have the inventory to sell them.
Right.
We're seeing lots of multiple offers right now. A house will come out that's very well cared for. It's a nice home, and you have people just waiting. It hits the market, and in 2 days, you find out there were 5 offers competing.
Yeah,
and that's not on everything.
Right,
but it certainly is on some.
Yeah.
So it's definitely in that under 400, 450 range, it's definitely a seller's market.
Let me ask you this. In 2004, did the internet play as huge a part as it's playing now?
It was beginning to play a big part, and a lot of people were searching, but nothing like it is today. You can't compare. Back in 2004, Zillow and Truly and some of those weren't barely even a blip.
Right.
And they weren't of a big, people just didn't have the resources they do today to do their own homework. I would compare it maybe to car buying. The difference in buying a car 10, 15 years ago as to today and the amount of research you can do prior to. And I actually think it's great because then as a consumer or home buyer, you can be really very educated in the sense of getting to view what's out there for yourself and see everything and not be held back to maybe 20 years ago when it came down to what we would search up and look. I mean, you can find everything. And maybe sometimes that opens somebody's eyes to something maybe they wouldn't have considered before. But I believe knowledge is power. And the more knowledge somebody has in making what is probably the largest purchase in their lifetime, I'm all for it.
I just wish we had a bell because ding, 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 ding. Diane and I use that phrase almost every time we're together, is that knowledge is power. And when you're able to, the more research, the more information there is out there, the better it is for everybody. I mean, the last thing you want is somebody to walk into especially like purchasing a home, as you mentioned, is probably the biggest investment, unless you're sending your kids to Harvard. I
think college education might be.
Yeah, it's right up there.
More debt anymore. Well, a bigger investment than a lot.
Sure,
of
yeah,
anymore.
but it's a huge investment, and nobody should go into it blind or even half-sighted, right?
No, and the internet for us, like I said, has given people the opportunity to look at so much more inventory without the time commitment. They can do it get a good idea from the comfort of their own home. Heck, they can do it on their cell phones anymore. It's
right.
Amazing. The apps, there weren't apps when I was in this before. And I was shocked getting out the apps and being able to, especially in a market like this, when a listing comes out and I'm not in the office, it'll come on my phone and I can send it to a buyer right from my phone or a seller that says, here's another listing in your category that's coming on the market that's going to compete with your home. Here's what it looks like. You can do that in a flash, and it's absolutely it's kind of mind-boggling to me.
Now, have you had? I know that you've kept on technology because you had to with your various media things. You've kept on top of technology. So was it a big shock or a surprise, or was there a bit of a learning curve when you got back into real estate? So I need to get on my horse and do some studying here.
No, not really. It's been, you go back and you have to get into all the, save all the websites because there's so many websites for researching, from state sites to real estate sites to your, everything. But the app features and whatnot, no, it was downloading and getting on, and they're so user friendly anymore. And if I have a problem, I just ask my 12-year-old. She can figure out anything. It's just like this.
Here, Mom, let me do this in my sleep.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I can help you figure that one out.
Sure.
But it hasn't been as much as I might have thought. It's just, you kind of, as soon as it's kind of like riding a bike.
Mm-hmm.
Once I've gotten back in, reread a few things, it's kind of came right back. But the apps are wonderful. That resource has been really great.
Let me tell you what I have encountered with friends who kind of live in my neighborhood. We're up in the Upper Miller Creek area.
I remember where you live.
And so they see, oh my gosh, this is going to be a really great time to sell my house because, it's the market's better and I can get more money for it and all that. But the problem is they're thinking 3 or 4 steps ahead and thinking, if I sell my house and let's say I get 6 offers in a week and I sell it in 8 days, I got to have a place to live. and then they have to move on from there. And then they find themselves in the same boat as the people that are bidding on their homes, right?
Well, in some cases, but there's ways to alleviate that. I actually have some clients right now that were kind of in that situation where we were competing for offers, but we hadn't sold their home yet. And
right.
So we were looking at doing a contingency offer. And of course, in that position, you're a little bit weaker when you're in a multiple counter or offer situation, and then you got a counter offer, and at that point, I'm the seller and the listing agent. I'm looking at that going, well, what's the strongest one here? What's has the least possibilities of not working? And
right.
that contingency is tough. And so what we're looking at doing is listing their home to sell, and the closing or even the sale is contingent upon them finding suitable housing within a time frame. So it allows you to get your house on the market, get it under contract, and then, if you're going to sell, you've been looking. So you have an idea and you know what's happening in that range. And there are a lot of people right now. What's really interesting, the number of people because of, we're looking at it in the age that we are of kids leaving home. And it's like, well, do I need this much square footage? I'd really like a 1-level ranch home. I don't want to climb the stairs to my master bedroom. That's what everybody
wants now.
Yeah, I don't mind going up. Believe it or not, it's the coming down that hurts the knees. So I think there's, right now there is that transition of a little bit of downsizing, or then there's the other families moving up. They're buying their 2nd or 3rd home, and it's giving them the opportunity. So it's not as scary, and there's always ways if you just sit and talk with your agent and really look at the different possibilities. There's ways to do it so that it isn't so stressful as, oh my gosh, it's sold. We got to go find something in 2 days. And
right.
And what if we have to compete?
I did not know that you could put a contingency on saying, okay, I know you love my house and thank you so much for the wonderful offer, but I need to find a place to live. So you're going to have to wait just a little bit long. Now, is there like a time factor involved there?
You would put that in. It's all based on, but what happens is you let them know. The right thing to do is, for us real estate agents, is we put it in our remarks where we can say, hey, FYI, when you make an offer on this home, we're putting in a contingency for them to find suitable housing. And then usually you put a time frame on it. It might be 60 days. It might be 90 days. And so your buyer has came in. They've made an offer. You've accepted it. You've then replied with the terms of the contingency saying it's going to be, say, 90 days. Mm-hmm. And then they wait for you to find something. When you find something, then the process goes forward. But at the end of 90 days, let's say you've exhausted it and you're just like, that's it. We're not going to move. Mm-hmm. Well, then that, unfortunately for those buyers, but it sale fails. They get their earnest money back.
Right. And then they have to start
no harm,
over
no foul. And they have to go again. But, most people, everyone's intentions are great.
Sure.
And they're going to find it. That doesn't happen that often, but it could. You always need to know both sides of everything.
I was waiting for you to say that if the contingency is 90 days and 90 days are up, I'm sorry, it's my house now. No, it doesn't work that way. Okay.
No, it's just like the opposite of a contingency for me to sell my home.
Okay.
So in that case, we say, I'd like to buy your home, but it's contingent on me selling my home. And if I don't sell my home within this time frame,
I can't buy yours.
Then I can't buy it. And our deal is we're done. It's a canceled deal.
Right.
It's over, and we get our earnest money, and we go our separate ways.
So, it's about this point when we start talking deep in the weeds with things like this, that I always bring up the fact that you need to be working with a professional full-time realtor, right? Because it is a crazy world out there. And if you're trying to, you may be really good with the app and with your thumbs and texting and all that jazz, but there's a world of information you don't know that you've been working hard learning and taking your lifetime of experience to help get us through the entire process, right?
It is. It's really, understanding, even when I was out of the business for those few years, funny, Diane, of course, was my agent and sold probably, I think it was 3 or 4 properties for my mom. And boy, I wouldn't go through those process without it. Even coming back in and getting back into the forms and getting back into the training of the laws that apply, the Montana laws, the national laws. There's a lot there. And we're constantly relying on professionals to guide us as well. And I think that going through that transaction to me would be very scary without somebody saying, here's all the things you should review before you go forward. Here's the contingencies you need to have. Here's the time frames. Here's, you need these inspections. And when you get these inspections, here's how we reply to them. And, here's all the documents you should be reviewing before you go in. And the disclosures and everything that would possibly go wrong. The nice thing is when you have somebody walking that walk with you, walking down through the process, it's not just us with our individual experience, but we've got a team, and then we've got our brokers, and then we've got the whole real estate family, and then the whole industry, and there's just a lot there. And I think that with today's market the way it is, and just how serious of a transaction that is, I most certainly wouldn't go to a doctor or my neighbor and say, hey, I don't feel good. What do you think? Now, granted, I'm not trying to say that I'm, comparing to somebody that's got 10 years of medical training, but you can kind of get the gist of it. Is that what you would do if it was something that serious?
Well, the thing is, this is your craft, like radio is my craft. I've been studying it for way longer than anybody wants to know. But so if somebody has a question about radio, I can probably answer it, right? If you want to talk about diesel mechanics, forget it. I have never, it's not my craft. Real estate is your craft. And so when you care about your craft, you study it, you master it, and so to the point where somebody can walk up to you and ask you any question, and you can say, well, I may not have that answer, but I can find it in the next 10 minutes, right?
Very much so. And it's that, I think, great agents we've got a big curiosity factor, and we've got an empathy factor. At least I do. When I look at that, I've gone through a number of real estate transactions, and I've had a number of different things go. I've gone through losing a contingency in my own life. I've gone through having a bridge loan and owning to because I didn't cancel the contingency.
Yike. Yeah.
I've seen so many of those, and I just can't imagine not having had an agent at the time of those transactions guide me through to make sure that all the I's were being dotted, and just the anxiety that comes along with it. And they take that anxiety back. But I just find it to be, I kind of put myself in their shoes and try and relate to it. And then I just have such a curiosity. Born and raised here. I grew up way up Miller Creek when there weren't houses way up Miller Creek.
Right.
And
it boggles the mind, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is. When I even go up there and the changes that have made since I was a kid.
Sure.
And
where's the rodeo grounds? What happened?
Oh, man. I used to ride down there on my horse.
Right.
It was wonderful. And that was even, I think about a 3-mile ride.
Sure.
But I get giddy kind of learning, about each individual, house, and there's a history there. And especially when you get into some of the older developments and just the research that comes into that, and the excitement of it. And it's not just finding a house with, 3 beds, 2 baths, a living room up and this down. It's kind of like, okay, I want to find that house where we can put the tire swing or the porch swing or
a place for mom or dad or
where your first grandchild comes in the front door, or your daughter walks down the stairs to her first prom,
right?
Or it's those memories that go along with the house, and they tell so many stories. And sometimes I feel like even when you're touring, you kind of just sense those stories that come out.
Sure.
And they're not just homes; they're storybooks, they're history books.
Right.
Even the brand new ones that are built, they do that same thing, and that to me is that's kind of the most exciting part of it.
Yeah, and I would think too, in my conversations with Diane about when you're selling your house, you have to be able to take yourself out of the picture and try to look at your house the way a consumer would. Somebody who's never seen your house before, someone who's looking for a certain thing. And so if they walk in and you're so proud of these 100, ribbons you got at the fair, and there's pictures everywhere, and there's, all sorts of memorabilia and things, and people can barely find their way through the living room, that's not helpful, is it?
No, I always say you're moving, so let's pack up now. So we're going to pack up everything that you don't need on a day-to-day basis,
right,
including, and it sounds horrible and it's so hard, but all your pictures. Because what happens is when I come in a home as a buyer and I see your pictures, I see your family.
Right.
But when there's no pictures of you and your family, to a sense, then you're walking in and I can envision my pictures on that wall or on that dresser or whatever. And then it just takes it. And you just, I always kind of compare and say, when you walk in a model home,
mm-hmm.
that's unfortunately what it needs to be like.
Yeah.
And I know we need to live. And of course, it's far harder when you have young children. But yeah, you're already moving. So let's get half the process already done and get it moved and boxed up and placed in the garage or wherever, so that it's a lot easier when somebody says they're coming for a showing, because there's not so much to take care of.
Right. And not only that, but to the seller, it is a next step in this process. We're on our way, right? This is, it's moving past that. Am I going to do this? I'm not just going to do it. I'm doing it. Right.
Mm-hmm. You've committed,
right,
and you're ready to go. And I think that it to me, when I've done that in the past, it's a relief. It's like this weight off my shoulders of I'm done with that process, part of the process. And it really just simplifies it, but it's making that home. I've even brought in a friend before that does some feng shui, and they say, all right, now we're not only that, we're going to move the furniture around.
Right.
We're going to replace these things. We're going to move that mirror. And it sounds silly, but it's amazing the difference that it makes, that when the house, again, is laid out for showing purposes for somebody else to see the function of the home, not your function.
Yeah.
And when you're not selling, you're right. Do however you want. That's your home and it's your function and it's your memories and your book.
Mm-hmm.
But when we go to put the book and sell it, we got to put the cover on right. We got to make sure the pages aren't, marked up, and got to change it so that it's something that somebody else wants.
So let's talk to buyers out there. Your advice as a professional realtor in this market, when you want to buy, what are the first steps when somebody walks or gives you a call and says, "Hey, Beckie, you're back. I'm so glad. We want to buy a house." So what do you do?
First, get pre-qualified. You need to know what it is that you can afford to go buy. And so the first thing to do is go to your lender and get pre-qualified, so when you're looking for a home, what it is you can afford to have. Because there's nothing more frustrating than looking at homes and then going, I can't afford this. And now your expectations change. And it's disappointing. It can be very frustrating. It also, in a market like this, if you're not pre-qualified, a seller's going to get offers and they're going to be like, well, if it's your offer and somebody else that says, well, I'm pre-qualified with this bank for this much, and they say that I finish up the process and meet their second criteria, I can buy this home, and the home meets their criteria. That's going to make the process so much faster. That's the first thing I start with is don't even look, don't get on the internet, don't scare yourself. Go meet with your lender, have a plan with them, check, and then my other thing is when you're meeting with your lender, let's not buy too much house. Let's buy a house you can enjoy, but not have to.
You don't want to.
You don't want to live to your house. You want to be able to.
You don't want to serve your house or serve the mortgage, basically, right?
Yeah, it's nice to be able to, afford food when you live there, or if you're or go somewhere. Sometimes you don't want to be at home, and it's nice to be able to or save.
And that's something that your lender will work with you too, right? Because they are legally required to say, hey, you're not supposed to spend more than X percent of your net income on your house. And so when they figure out the loan, they take that into consideration, right? Right.
They take into consideration your income, your debts, your cost of living. All those things come into play, and that's their job. And they're very. They're great at it. They'll guide you through a safe thing. But that's the first thing before you even start looking is you really need to know what it is you can afford.
And again, And again, I pound this nail a lot. Do it locally, okay? We've got wonderful lenders. You can walk right into their office. You can call them on a Saturday. But if it's 1-800, hey, get a loan, whatever, you never know who you're going to be talking to. You are a number, and they plug that number in, and good luck, you know?
I'm pretty strong on that. I really believe I still like to be able to shake the hand of the person that's looking into all of my financials, or anything for that matter. When I'm buying a car, I want to know I can speak to that person. That person's willing to even give me their cell phone number if need be.
Sure.
And I guarantee you, if you're doing a 555 loan, whatever it is, www.loan or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
That when you say, hey, you're my lender, really appreciate this. Hey, can I have your cell phone number so that when I'm out with my real estate, if I have a question, there's a test for you. Compare that. And we've just got such a plethora of great lenders in Missoula, in the area. Boy, you could choose one of so many. They're just, so I would definitely want to be able to sit down with my lender and at least meet them.
Believe it or not, we only have about 3.5 minutes left in our time together, Beckie. It's been a great time to catch up.
Wow,
now,
and we haven't even talked about the good old days.
I want to ask you specifically, because you're back in the business now. So why should someone call Windermere and say, I want to talk to Beckie?
Oh, my goodness. I'm short. I'm sassy. Just kidding. I think we've got a lot of great agents in Missoula. My particular, stance is I know Missoula and the surrounding area very, very well. Like I said, I was born and raised here, and I like to know the different insights of our community and get to know who that buyer or seller is, what is your goal? And it's not just the simple numbers goals, or it's really that, why are you moving? Or what are you interested in a home and why? Not 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, like I said.
Right.
So I really think that I've got I think we all have a passion, but I have a compassion when I'm looking at real estate with my clients. And I think between that compassion, the team that I have with the knowledge that is behind us, the research that we share and can bounce with each other, gives us that 30-some years of combined experience, actually more than that, to use those things. But then, like I said, compare it to compassion. Details, also marketing. I have a 25-year marketing background, so I'm pretty keen in on how we're marketing, how we're reaching out to people. And
you have contacts, with folks all over, because you've lived here your whole life. You know everybody in the building industry and the lighting and, whatever it might be. You've got all those contacts. And even if somebody wants to build, you can help them, right?
I can. I've come from a very large family. The joke has always been I'm the youngest of 10. I have 9 older brothers. And interestingly enough, they're all very entrepreneurial. So I have a brother that owns Lawrence Carpet One, and another brother that works with him. I have a brother that does carpentry or does granite. I have another one that works in electrical that is a journeyman. I have one that is a very high quality builder here in town. So from the flooring business to granite, all of it, kind of been there, done that.
Yeah.
And
so you get the whole package with Beckie.
I did.
Pretty cool.
I spent a lot of years with the building industry when I was in radio.
We're running out of time, unfortunately. I just need some contact information. People want to get a hold of Beckie Peterson. What do they do?
Well, you can call me on my cell phone. That is 406-829-6003 or Windermere's 541-6550.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. It's
good to talk with you again. Good to catch up. All right. You guys have a great day, and we will see you next week on Missoula Real Estate Today here on KGVO. Thanks for tuning into Missoula Real Estate Today. We hope you found the information over the last 30 minutes to be helpful. If you have any suggested topics for future Missoula Real Estate Today programs or any questions about buying or selling real estate, please email Diane. Here's the address. It's DianeBeck@Realtor.com. That's DianeBeck@Realtor.com. We'll see you next week on News Talk KGVO.com, 98.3 FM and 1290 AM.